Hello and welcome to Loving Me, Myself, and Life with me, Jody Misiak. So I had discovered that I picked up some not great habits, over the while, and maybe you have too. And the first step of real fixing, or not even fixing, but changing directions of your habits is just being mindful that you want to change them, making the decision to change them, and then, lovingly guiding yourself in a new direction. I was finding I had this time where I was so stressed out. I'm like, why am I stressed out? I was focusing on having a bath a lot with essential oils and, meditating and focusing on my breath and even yoga when I could, and, made the time for it really, if I'm being honest. And I was, out in nature and I was taking those moments near the beach. Like I was doing all these things to help me with my stress. However, I didn't look at what was causing my stress because you can do all these things and some stresses you might not be able to easily switch out or change. This one I could. But like for example, like when my son wasn't sleeping for 2 years, like that was something that I just had to kind of find things to help me through that, and also try and keep my mind positive so we could, move through that non-sleeping time. Anyways, so sometimes you just can't always eliminate the stress out of your life, but sometimes you can. I realized that I was looking at the news a lot, and I am one that I personally was always, I don't really like the news. I don't like watching the news or reading the news or any of that. But I found myself going to the news. I think it was like my husband works early in the morning and then he goes to bed early, so I don't see him a lot. So I feel like I was filling that void of an adult conversation, and we weren't at that time we weren't able to really hang out with too many people outside of our bubbles and stuff like that either. So I was leaning towards this thing, and I think eventually it just became a habit too. Like it's one of those things I didn't really want to, but I found myself checking it way more than needed. Like I was checking it to the point where no new articles were coming up. So I was like, wait a second. And I realized as I got mindful of what I was doing, I was just, as I looked at the news or like I was reading it, I avoided watching because watching, I take in too many emotions. So I knew that, but I was reading articles after articles, and I knew I realized what I was doing, and I paid attention to my body when I was done reading it. And my stress levels were so high. I could feel it in my neck and in everywhere. So I was like, whoa, gotta slow it down there. So I realized that I needed to make a change. Now, if you like watching the news or reading the news, that's totally cool. And if it brings you some kind of comfort and things like that, totally cool. But for me personally, it was causing so much stress in my body and in my life in general that I needed to change it. So habits are really cool. We can have some really good ones, like brushing our teeth. We don't even think about it. We just wake up, we brush our teeth. For me, I drink a glass of water almost in the morning without thinking about it now. Like it just happens. For a while there, my habit was grabbing a cup of coffee first thing in the morning. It's like, wait a second, need to add a step in there first. We create these habits, and the more we do them, the less we think about them. Hence me looking at the news, like it just became something that was part of my life. And we can do that. So what happens then when we discover a habit we're not a big fan of, or it's not serving us in our life anymore? It's not about pushing it away or about like, oh, you're a bad habit, like let's get you out of my life forever. It's about replacing it with something that you do like. So for me, is realizing why I was looking at the news so much. Like first of it was just to keep up with the latest restrictions and the latest guidelines and all this fun jazz that was happening. And then it just became a constant thing in my life that I no longer wanted constant. So I decided, okay, now it's just filling a void. I'm bored, or I just want a conversation, or I want to be filled with something. And I didn't feel like being filled with the news anymore. So I would instead, if I caught myself looking at the news more than I needed to, like, checking in maybe once a day or once a week, for me was where I was like, okay, I can do that now. That's where I want to set myself to. And I would pick up my phone then and grab and go onto my Audible account and listen to something inspiring. The first one I did this to was with Dr. Wayne Dyer. I love his stuff. I love his message. And it's really part of where my self-love journey began. So I really like connecting, and his voice is so soothing and calm. And yeah, so I went and just listened to one of his books. The other things is I always had this, and actually for a long time through through our move and stuff, I haven't been reading as much. I've been reading more fun mysteries and things like that. But I always had an inspirational book or something to motivate me, or that just kind of was about self-help and self-discovery, always on the go. And it's also something that I could grab too. So it's one of those things that I'd like to get back in the habit as well. Instead of grabbing towards, the news and things like that, I want to reach for something that's more inspiring and motivating, and maybe fill me up with positivity instead of the opposite. So habits, as much as we can get in the not so great habits, they don't have to be around forever. Like, how many of you actually think about brushing your teeth in the morning? For me, it's an instant. Like, that's the first thing I do when I get up. After maybe snuggling my kids and stuff, I brush my teeth. Like, it's just a thing that happens. And even at night, I brush my teeth. Like, it's those things. And we can create any habit to be like that. We didn't always brush our teeth. I think of my kids where we kind of have to push them along. Now, mind you, most of the time, I think they'll do it on their own if they just focus and they don't get distracted in, playing in their rooms or whatever. Now, as for the habits you might not be a big fan of, depending on how long you've been doing them, it could be a habit that's like brushing your teeth. It might take a little time to not do something like that. Like, so if it's something you've been doing since your childhood and you don't really want to do it anymore, you found it's no longer serving you. Like maybe eating before bed. That's a big one. I haven't done that in a very long time, because I try not to eat before, at least 3 hours before bed. Usually supper's the last time, but I know other people have a hard time not stopping there, and they snack, and it might have been coming from your childhood. I remember as a kid, we'd have chips before bed. We always had a snack. Maybe chips were only on the weekend. I don't know, but we always had a snack. And even we had the sleep week with my daughter's school, and they had a bingo game. And one of the bingo sections is having a healthy snack before bed. And I go to my kids, I go, look, this is a square we're not going to do, because we don't eat before bed because it helps with digestion and things like that. So we can easily pick up different patterns without even realizing why or things like that. But that doesn't mean healthy ones can't be replaced. And actually, my daughter was really clever and found a loophole towards that as well. And it's just like right after supper, so AKA dessert, they had a healthy snack instead of dessert. It was an apple. So, you can change things up as well. Anyways, just a fun little tidbit there. And, but healthy habits. To figure out healthy habits, where do you even start? Maybe you're not even sure where to begin in setting them. And maybe you're just like, I just know I need something different. Well, a good starting point is just looking at your day. And you can even list out everything you do. Then look at it and be like, what are the things you actually want to be doing? What are things you're okay with living your life doing? And I'm going to be honest, I like watching TV before bed. I know people say no screens before bed and things like that. I try my best not to look at my phone before bed. Actually, I don't look at emails and anything like that unless I really have some pressing work to do or something like that. And even social media, no social media. But my step before is watching one TV show before bed. And hopefully I'll get into the habit more of reading before bed. But that's my habit right now. And it's the more, if I don't do it, then I actually have a hard time sleeping. So it's watch TV before bed, and I actually put a meditation on before bed. So those are my habits. Now, maybe they're not great to some people, but that's what I like. And I'm okay with that. I've chose that to end my day. And it's whatever you want to do, but you have to make sure that it allows you to sleep and get you need, like, I get the best sleeps ever. So if I wasn't sleeping well, I would have to adjust things. So if I don't, move my body enough in a day, or if I'm filling myself up with a lot of stress and things like that, then I might not be able to sleep well. But for some reason, my TV shows are not drama-y or anything. They're very chill, easygoing shows. Because I don't want to fill myself up with like anxiety and stuff before bed. So it's just being mindful of what makes you feel good and do more of that. So again, just looking at your day and figuring out what it is, maybe things that you could tweak, things you're not happy with. And it's not fully removing them, but so just do that first. Looking at what would you like to possibly change in your day. And then you can make a list of things that you're like, well, I would like to be doing more of this. I read this, blog, or I read this book and it said, if I do this and that, then maybe you want to try something new out. Maybe you want to do yoga in the morning, or meditate a little bit more, or go for walks, or meditating walks, and whatever it may be that you're like, I want to incorporate more of this into my life. More joyful amazingnesses into your life. Write a list out. So you now have a list of things you'd like to possibly remove from your life or day, or lessen at least. And then you have a list of things that you would like to incorporate more into your day. And then all you do is you slowly take the stuff you want to do and you place it with the things that you don't like to do. So maybe, here's an example. I'm not picking on the news watchers out here, but maybe the one thing that you would like to do less of is not watch the news right before bed. Maybe you don't want to be watching about like the crazy, world out there right before bed. Maybe you've like, okay, I have way too much stress before bed. So maybe replace it with a fun, awesome, upbeat movie or show. Or read an audio book like I've been doing, or whatever it is. We all have our uniqueness. Like I said, I had to bring down the news at like crazy amount of level, like way, way, way down. But other people might feel more secure in it. And that's what you need to do. So I can't tell you what to replace it with, or what's not good and what's, going to cause you stress in your day. But it's just coming up with looking at your day. Maybe you find that you're on social media too much. I know that was me. It was the same thing with the news, right? I just was like, I have a free moment and I pick up my phone and I would like browse Facebook. And I'd be like, whoa, like I was just constantly on there doing nothing. And like an hour has passed. Like I could have read a book. So that's what I did. I replaced browsing. There's a difference too with catching up with people, posting, sharing, commenting, interacting with people. But I was just browsing. I was killing some time. And I realized at that moment, that's not what I wanted to do with my time. So that's where I always started to have a book on hand to just pick up and read. It's like, oh, I have a few minutes. I will read. And that's what I chose to fill in. And it's incredible how things can change. I don't browse Facebook very often. Actually, I don't anymore at all. It's one of those things. The news is definitely... Still have to set some boundaries, I feel, with that one. But I'm doing way better than I was. This is recent, too, that I discovered it. Probably, like as of this recording, it was probably a week ago, maybe 2 now. So it's very fresh and new. But I'm like way, way less of it. And I feel way better. Like the moment I switched my habits around from one that was causing me stress to one that causes me joy, my stress levels eased so much. Like I had so much tension. I had to put like a lotion on my neck with essential oils just to calm my muscles at the end of the day. That all had to, like I stopped that the moment I stopped being addicted to my news searching. And it's okay to have these moments. It's just being mindful of how much that you're doing things and what are they causing you to feel. So on top of like making a list of what you want to what you don't want to do so much in your life versus what you do, You might actually want to think about too, how do you want to feel during your day? And then the new things that you want to incorporate, are those going to do that for you? Are they going to bring you more joy and peace, or whatever it is, fun if you want, like all those things? Like, look at that. And that's kind of really how you start creating healthy habits. And it really does begin with one step at a time. I would have your list, and you can incorporate one or two maybe, but don't go too crazy too fast. I say this with so much love because I'm an all or nothing kind of person. I like to just change it all at once. And then I usually set myself up for some hefty failure. I, fall flat on my face and I go right back. Now, if you've done that, that's totally cool too. However, I've always found that less is more sometimes, where you just slowly incorporate things. So maybe there's one habit you really, really want to change. You're like, I can't deal with this in my life anymore. Like it's not helping me sleep, or maybe it's removing sugar out of your diet, out of your life, or at least having less of it. Whatever it might be, coffee, all these things. Like there's so many different things, right, that you might be realizing, or maybe it's just not starting with coffee in your day and you want to incorporate a glass of water. So maybe put a little sticky note on the coffee maker and be like, you can enjoy me after a big glass of water, whatever it may be. Just setting yourself up, like just ideas, because I'm not there working side by side with you. It's something I do with my clients, obviously. And, but whatever it is that you might want to change, it's just looking for ways of how to make it fun and simple for you to change. Don't overcomplicate things when you're creating healthy habits, and just do a little swapperoo. I love putting lemon in my water, a little pinch of cayenne too, to kind of get the circulation going. So it's whatever you like to do. And it's just making it fun and simple, and just do a quick little swapperoo. Well, maybe not quick, a little swap for something that is bringing you less joy, or maybe even brings some major stress into your life, and replacing it with something that's going to create a little bit more calm and peace in your day. Because when you have more calm and peace in your day, you can show up more as your authentic self and your best, amazing, loving self. I hope you can find some amazing, healthy habits over the next little while. And I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye for now.